One time I went to Japan for an athletic sprinting competition and hung out with the other athletes for 2 weeks. And in just 2 weeks, I managed to make friends with both the people from my city who I was hanging out with regularly, despite them both saying that I was quiet. Ryan Gosling in the movie Drive only says 116 lines in the entire 100-minute film. And in that time, he manages to not only make a girl fall in love with him, but even her husband starts to really like him. So if you've ever wanted to know how to have conversations that are just amazing and only say 1 line per minute, well, my friends, this is the video for you. No, but you don't actually need to talk less. There's just other aspects of conversation which are just as important as what you're saying. And it'd be pretty silly to not focus on those because like one of these tips I'm gonna give, it literally takes like 30 seconds to a minute before you go into a conversation. And that's all, and it will massively improve your conversations. The biggest thing about this trip was that we were doing fun and challenging stuff together. We had so much shared experience, so much shared bonding, and that's how we were able to make friends in just 2 weeks. So I go to a run club, for example, and after you run a 3K at like a fast pace, the questions you unlock, man. One week I asked, what is your deepest regret? To 2 people, and I got good responses. I actually learned their deepest regrets and they learnt mine. Shared experience on its own is just a connector. Like we connect with people who we have some shared experience with. It also deepens and makes our conversations more fun because we can talk about all that stuff we did. Not only that, people let down their guard. Now, this is not some like manipulation thing of like people letting down their guard, then you go in for the kill or whatever. This is just like when you've just done something challenging, like you've just gone for a really long run, or you've just done something really fun, people are not gonna have all this anxiety in their heads anymore. And that's going to unlock a whole nother level of conversation. And how you can practically apply this is that if you're organizing a social event or whatever, you can just like try and do a little challenge or do something hard, do something really fun. Or if you're trying to pick an activity to meet people, do something where it's either like a class where you make a finished product. So you're like a pottery class where you get a pot, or maybe even just like a group assignment at university or whatever. Or you can just go to something that you find really fun or something that you want to challenge yourself with. So a sport is a great way to do this because it's physically challenging and it's fun. So I think that a really great pairing is exercise and meeting people. Other thing you can do, you can just send out like nice vibes and I am interested in you vibes. So Ryan Gosling in the movie Drive does this very, very well. You know, he's actually like attentive to the person he's talking to. He actually looks at them and he pays attention and he's really interested visually from here down, right? So often when you just show that interest, people are just gonna like you more because you're being nicer to them, and people like nice people. It's a good quality to have and people respect it. And we also like just like people who are interested in us, and we talk more when people actually care what we're saying, you know? If we feel heard, we're going to talk more. That's just quite simple. And you guys know how to do this already. We all have this intrinsic ability to do it. It's just something that we should focus on more. And so at the end of this video, I'm going to say that you need to pick 1 or 2 things to focus on. Next conversation you're in, maybe this will be one of them. Another thing you can do is you can follow up on how they're going with stuff. Now, this is a conversational tip in itself, but it also is like, it taps into this extra kind of thing of like shared experience with these 2 people in Japan. Before I had any conversation with them, I just thought for like a minute or 30 seconds, like, is there anything we've been talking about that I want to follow up on? And I just followed up on that when I talked to them, when there was a silence. And what this did, it not only showed that I cared, which, you know, like being a good friend is how you make friends. So I was just being a good friend. On top of that, I feel like there's something about following up with something that you talked about last time. It helps you feel, it feels like the conversation is more intentional. Your relationship is more intentional. When you follow up on stuff that you said last time, now it's not 2 people coming together who happen to be talking just for convenience. Now it's 2 people who have like intentionally decided to catch up. Like when you're like, how did this go? How did this go? Now you're literally catching up. And what do friends do? Friends catch up. So I think it psychologically just helps us build that kind of shared experience, which cannot be built through just words. Another thing you can do in conversations, you can ask people's opinion about stuff you're wondering about. So for example, I've been thinking a lot recently about, I don't know actually. I've been thinking about, I want to get into like gardening and having some plants in my room. I think it'd be nice, a nice hobby. But I also don't want hobbies right now because I want to just grind YouTube. And so, you know, maybe that's something I've been thinking about. Maybe next conversation I'm in, I'll just have a little chat about that if it comes up naturally. And that way I'm working through stuff that I'm actually like trying to think out and try and work out for myself. They're also probably involved. Maybe you pick something that's like more universal so that the other person's actually going to get a chance to think as well. And now you've both kind of just helped each other like kind of realize more about the world and get to a deeper understanding and stuff. And that is a great way to build shared experience. And you're also helping each other through that. And the last thing you can do is you can help people. If people need help, you know, just think like, it's the only thing that this person would really appreciate if I did for them. Maybe do that, you know. The way that we become friends with people is by being a great friend. And when you're being a nicer person to people, you're more interested in them, you're a better friend, you're helping them, they're gonna like you more and they're just gonna talk to you better. You're gonna have better conversations with them. And with all of these things, you might be wondering, how do I not overstep? How do I not help people too much? How do I not seem too interested and too nice? And the answer to that is think about like how many times you've seen them basically in the chats you've had. Would it be overstepping? Would it be going way beyond that to do this thing? So for example, if you've seen someone 3 times, you're not going to do something for them that you do to like a family member who you've known for years or a friend who you've been seeing for a year. It's just, if you've seen someone 3 times, you might like them a lot, but if you've only seen them 3 times, you're not going to do any crazy favors for them. But at the same time, if you've seen someone 3 times, it's very valid to act super interested in them and what they have to say and ask these questions about like, oh, how was that concert you went to? That's fair game. And so you can still do this stuff of like showing interest and you can still do challenging things. Of course, you can do that one. You're just not going too far beyond. And the same when it comes to doing like the challenging or fun things. You're not going to plan a trip to Europe with someone you've talked to 3 times. So it's just like, is this reasonable? And you can even go like a little bit beyond. So push your boundaries a little bit and experiment. But there's some things where it's just like, yeah, obviously I'm not going to go to Europe with someone who I've just met. And it's kind of those things. Like obviously I'm not going to bake someone a cake to celebrate their birthday if I've only talked to them once and it was a pretty chill conversation. So with that being said, here are the actionable steps. The first thing you can do, focus on either trying to be more nice and more interested in people, or focus on trying to work through like the things that you're currently thinking about. Pick one of those two, probably the nice one because it's more important. And next time you're in a conversation, try and do that. Or next time, even when you're with your family, for example, try and do it then, because that's a kind of low stakes way of practicing and building the habit of doing that. The next thing you should do before the next social event you go to, have a think about the people who you might talk to and think about something that they've talked to you about that you might want to follow up on. So that way you're coming in prepared. Another thing you should probably do is think about if you can join a fun activity or a challenging activity, or just think about if the current stuff you're doing is fun or challenging, or there's an opportunity to work with people to produce something. One of those things. And if not, then try and find something that does. And overall, just try and think about how you can be a better friend to the people who you're meeting and you're talking to. And it'll go a long, long way without having to have amazingly better conversations and improve your conversational skills. So I hope this helped. Subscribe and have a great day.